As a successful entrepreneur, you're always looking for the inside secrets to really make a big impact. You want to serve your clients well. You want to scale the businesses up. You want to create systems that you can deliver tremendous value and build great value for yourself and all your stakeholders. Well, we have a guest that's done just that. She's a serial entrepreneur at a young age. She's made a big impact. And she's going to share some insights that have led to her being one of the best-selling authors out there. Stay tuned. You do not want to miss this.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Shannon Susko, I am so excited to have you here with me today. You are, I met you at the Abundance 360 conference. You're hanging out with all these super successful individuals. They're all telling me how great you are. I bought your book. I've seen all the stuff that you're doing, and I am amazed. So first of all, thank you for sharing your time with our fellow entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, and one of the things, Shannon, that I was so impressed when, everybody's talking about how hard charging they are and where they, they're in Chicago, New York, Madrid, London, all over the world. And you said, geez, I'm at Whistler and I love skiing. I'm passionate. It's one of my favorite spots in the world. And I go, how do you do all this? But so before we go to all these great insights, I'd like to hear some of the backstory, Shannon, of how you got where you are today. Because you've had some successful businesses go full cycle. You've been one of the best-selling authors out there on an area of business that is extremely competitive. And so did you wake up at 4 years old and say, this is what I'm going to do? And how did it all come together?
Actually, I think it was more like I woke up when I was 18 and went, I need to live in Whistler, British Columbia, but I need to live there and not be a traditional ski bum. And so I figured there was lots of other people who might want to build not one, but two organizations with me, share the same core values, and want to really work hard and play hard. And that's been overdone. But in being here, we were able to find it, and quite thankfully, the internet was at a point where we could pull that off. Not only build a payment processing company, but a compliance company for broker dealers as well out of Whistler.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. What were some of the challenges that you found, Shannon? Because I know you're going to have a lot of jealous entrepreneurs that are going, okay, I'm somewhere where I'm not really sure I want to be. And if they've been to Whistler, it's hard not to like it, whether it's winter or, summer, whatever season it is. But I was kind of surprised. I did have to go back in your book. Did she build the businesses there or did you move there? I was thinking, and no, you built.
Yeah, no, we actually built the first business here up to 100 people. Some of the biggest challenges we had was actually finding space to build the business. There's a little industrial park south of Whistler, about 10 kilometers it is in Whistler, and we started taking up little pieces of office space, so much so that we had our own campus in that area, and all the cafes in that area kept telling me, we're having record months. We keep having record months. And I was like, well, so are we, and we keep growing. And then the other challenge we had, interestingly enough, is because Whistler's service, town. We're a tourist town, and it was a crazy time to find just beds for our people to sleep in. Right, as we grew, we had to go out and find the housing. And I was at a huge crunch time. And quite frankly, I think Whistler and the municipality of Whistler, we didn't quite fit into their plan. And we took quite a bit of heat in the media over it for a period of time until people realized that we're a year-round business and here to stay. And we stayed for 10 years.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And as you did these businesses, Shannon, you've learned a lot of lessons. you're a young woman, a very talented woman. There aren't that many talented young women who are entrepreneurs who have gone full cycle on a couple businesses, written a best-selling book on the experience and all the lessons learned. I mean, how did that, how did that come together that you wanted to, not only build the businesses, but now sharing it with other fellow entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so building the businesses was, one of those great challenges, finding a team of people. And, I was very, very lucky to have more than half the team come with me the second time around. So we found a formula that worked. Now, writing the book was a huge accomplishment. It's one of those bucket list check. But I think I learned more in that year than probably all the 15, 16, 17 years before that, because I had to get inside my head and then out of my head to write it down in a way that people would understand. And my core purpose today is to help, others, CEOs predominantly, grow personally and professionally. As a CEO for that 17 years prior to that, it was to help others grow personally and professionally. That's what a CEO is there to do.
So help me out with, really the book. This is all the lessons learned, and you're now taking it, and you're sharing it with other CEOs, both in your publications as well as in your coaching business. And again, this is there's so many great insights that you have through all the experience that you've had, and you've done a great job of communicating it. But I looked at the title the first time, and I go, the metronome effect. And I'm going, okay, not the butterfly effect, the metronome effect. And I was thinking, I do use a metronome, for exercise, because trying to get the rhythm and so on.
Yeah.
So I know I'm not very musically talented, but for exercise, I use it. And I'm thinking, well, geez, maybe that's what she's talking about. And this is obviously, just having met you, I didn't know what it was. Why don't you tell everybody what is the metronome effect?
Yeah, so the metronome effect is basically my account of learning how to grow not one business, not two, three, actually four businesses, and using a methodology as the leader of the organization, and quite frankly, the whole team, in setting a rhythm to grow the business. And when we set out to build our first business, we started in 1995. On the edge of the bubble years. And if you're not tech focused, it doesn't really matter. The edge of the bubble years was just a really high growth time. And we had some good ideas, and people got behind them and financed them. And quite frankly, the first 5 years of that business, we probably made every mistake you possibly could. We finally found payment processing at the time where it was just at the right time, lucky, at the right time. And we knew it, but we wanted to take advantage of it. And at that time, I call it like controlled chaos, or maybe just it was chaos. We went from 4 to 100 people that year, and I was on the road about 95% of my time. And we hired all those people and made a ton of mistakes. And it was really obvious what those mistakes were, and it was on me. I wasn't clear on my core values. So anytime I had a chance, maybe I was in the office and I got to speak to whoever we were hiring, we got it right more than not. And so my team finally said, what do you ask these people? And I said, well, I'm really just assessing whether I could go out and have a coffee, lunch, a beer with them, because I'm going to spend a lot of time with them. They're going to be in our organization. We're going to work all day together, and I want to make sure they're the same core values. And so that's really obvious, quite frankly. That's Jim Collins. That's from eons ago. But as a young entrepreneur, you don't know what you don't know. And we then spent a lot of time creating, what our core values were, just not even creating them, communicating them to the whole team. But at the same time, I was very, very pleased and very lucky to have met Vern Harnish. He was moderating a leadership forum, and I was one of the participants, and he kept throwing out things that came out of the Rockefeller habits, which is now scaling up. And he kept throwing out, we should handle that in a huddle, or, what's your BHAG, which is from Jim Collins as well. What does your one-page plan look like? And all these things. And by the end of that 3-day conference, I literally went up to him and I said, I need to know more about this. And at the time I met Vern, just to put it in full perspective, I was reading 4 business books a week, looking for the silver bullet to solve our growth issue. And it was a good issue, but we weren't doing it well. And I wanted to do it in a way that, we could enjoy Whistler, quite frankly, live a life, have fun at work, and enjoy leaving work. And meeting Vern and sharing that with me, I then literally emailed him once a month for 12 months. And I asked him, what do I do next? He would tell me, do this, and what do I do next? And what do I do next? So for 12 months, and this is before Vern's book, The Rockefeller Habits, so we couldn't read the book. So we were just basically, I think, getting chapter by chapter from Vern, quite frankly. And we just would implement it. We were so desperate for change that we would just implement it as a leadership team and as a team. And we didn't tell anyone we were implementing any methodology or the latest and greatest thing the CEO found. It was just, we're trying to get better. Let's practice on getting better. And so we did it. And within 24 months, we had a rhythm within our organization that allowed us not only to execute 90 days, 12 months, we could set out our 3-year goals. We knew how to get there strategically. We had our 10-year BHAG laid down. And we actually knew and we had a very strong culture and we lived it every day. So it sounds so simple, quite frankly, when you look back on it. But when you're in the weeds and you're trying to execute and grow your business, the best thing any CEO can do and any leadership can do is get outside of the weeds, get away from the weeds and look in on the company and look at it from a perspective of, how am I going to grow this? What's happening outside? What's happening inside? How are my customers taking on what we have, what matters to them, all those things. But this is how we got to the fact, we got to the point of we created this methodology.
No, this is so good. I want to just stop for a second here, Shannon, because what I love is I'm a guy who reads an awful lot of books too. I've got a bunch back there. I just looked on my Kindle. I have 425 books.
Yeah.
And so I know you know that kind of effect too. And what I loved when, I haven't read the full book. I told you before we started interviewing, but I did start the intro. What I loved right in the beginning, what you've done is you were on this journey to find answers like many of your fellow entrepreneurs.
Yes.
I know certainly me and my guests, you out there too. And what you've done is you created a framework of some of the best people, and Bill and Vern. I'm doing a number of things with Vern. I really love his work, and I like the book even more, Scaling Up now. And we're either going to have him on a podcast or one of my webinars, but Vern's he's speaking in October at one of my big events, and just great guy. But there's a lot of books that are sold that are never put into action. And before we go into kind of getting all the rhythm in your book, how did you get the team along with you? I mean, it's one thing for you to fire off an email to Vern. It's another to come back and get the 4 to 400, depending on what time cycle, to go on the journey with you. How'd you do that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we were desperate for change. We all knew that we needed to do something different. Mm-hmm. If we were going to have a consistent communication rhythm that we were all going to say the same thing, whether I was there or not, we had to do something different. And so, part of it was we had a really young team. Probably the average age of our team in the beginning was my age, which was like 29 or something like that, maybe, if that. And we just... there's no naysayers. There's no traditional or non-traditional. This was just like, we have to figure out how to grow this company really fast. And we've got to figure it out because we have so much cash and we want to continue to have that fuel to drive our business. And probably one of the biggest things, I've learned probably after the fact is that, every time you hit 10 people, 25 people, 100 people plus, there's this valley of death. Vern talks about it in Scaling Up that you want to miss. You want to make it as like the bunny hill. You don't want to make it very steep, and you want to drive through it, holding your culture and your team. And my team was very, very committed. That was one thing we had. When we thought about the trust at the table, the way that we could have some really strong discussions, we just want to make sure we're having the right discussions, setting the right goals, committing to them, and then driving towards the results. So it was really a testament of that whole team. But that team also shared very strongly my core values. I did get that team right at that time. I might not have gotten everyone right at that time, but I definitely got that team right. And they just, we were all committed to grow it. We knew the more we grew it, the longer we got to stay in Whistler and the more ski seasons we got, quite frankly.
Yeah, and a little mountain biking on the side too,
Yes,
probably here.
yeah.
So no, that's great. And so, you took it and you were working with Vern, you've read all these books. And then tell me, I'm going to put up on the screen the house that you built out of all of this. Let me do that. And this is, I just did a quick, out of your book, I did a quick JPEG to just show it. And
Awesome.
the metronome effect, and I've got it on the screen. And, if you're not... if you're on the audio podcast, obviously you can't see it. You can go to the show notes. You'll be able to see it there. And a better way is just buy the book. And but tell me how, because I mean, what I love is you've gone ahead and you've got the leadership, and the classic is leadership at the bottom. You got the team at the top, the roof. You got the leaders at the foundation. I see the 10-year BHAGs. Your big, hairy, audacious goals you're building. You've got all the systems, and you've got a really nice rhythm illustrated there about executing plans, monthly, quarterly. You've been talking about that. How did this all, I mean, this is something that somebody publishes when they're 85 or so, Shannon.
We came up with that house because I think when I started telling you how did this all happen, it started with me being more self-aware. I was a really young leader, and you can have a lot of audacity as a young leader. And it was just got to the point where I had to be as self-aware and as transparent as possible. I could not have been the smartest person in the room. I needed to ensure I had, the best people. That's one of the barriers to growth, when the leader remains the smartest person in the room. So a lot of my reading was to do with that way back. So the leader became the foundation. So I was able to attract a great team to Whistler. I loved it. They loved us. We're a huge family. I had to be very clear on why we were creating the organization. And, the core purpose of our organization was to create an organization that others would value. Shareholders, but the team as well. And then from a core value perspective, being the next layer of the house in that foundation, is I'd be very clear on my own core values. My core values: happy to come to work, happy to leave, hungry enough to want to make a difference every day, and humble enough to want to learn every day. And so that became, that was our core values. And you absolutely have to have those two things: core purpose, core values, makes up the culture, makes up how we're going to live and die every day. And we had to, ensure that we were recognizing people for that. Then, as the story goes, you read a ton of books, you come across Good to Great and Jim Collins and Built to Last, and you got to love the big, hairy, audacious goal. It's the goal that you set out that is your dream. You don't have to know how to get there, but you've got to set it out and tell everybody. I remember telling everybody our big, hairy, audacious goal, being 4 people in Whistler, British Columbia in Function Junction. Like, come on. And we're going to be a global payment processor. And everyone's like, yeah, that's really nice. No, we are. And we're not going to be an e-commerce payment processor. We're going to be, a face-to-face. We're going to be in restaurants and hotels and shoe stores. Oh, yeah, that's really nice. I can remember some of the banks I worked with at that time, and we were, integrating, and they were, basically patted me on the head and said, that's really nice, but can you help us now? Of course, we'll help you now. And then the two sides of the house, where they came from, if we have that as foundation, so people join our team believing the BHAG, believing why we exist, and having the core values, then on the one side, the one wall of the house is a cohesive team. And, everything I learned there, quite frankly, came from Pat Lencioni. And I think I've read every book he had. I'm pretty sure I was a groupie at the same time. I was probably a groupie of Vern, but I just wanted to learn everything I possibly could as fast as I could to learn how do we create this cohesive team, not only at the leadership, but our larger team. And we actually, before the five dysfunctions of a team came out, we used the five temptations of a CEO, and that was, I think, Pat's first book. Nice fast book. Take the BART train ride. We all did, and we all had to say what our biggest temptation was. Well, mine was accountability over popularity. Hence why I was on this journey. I had to have my team 100% accountable and believing in the whole thing. So we started working this in. We just didn't do a workshop. We worked it into our rhythm. We worked it into our rhythm. As much as we were focusing on our culture day in and day out, we're focusing now on our cohesiveness. Sounds ridiculous because a lot of people don't do it that way, but we thought it was a way to win. And we didn't, no one was telling us right or wrong, traditional or not traditional, so we carried on. Then we came across, and looked at, we need a repeatable process, the other wall, for our team. And we called it a human system. So unhuman, quite frankly, as unhuman as it gets. But we knew that people want to know and they expect in a certain way you're going to be treated in an organization. From all the way how you could recruit to hire to board to coach, keep, reward. And we wanted the best. We wanted A players. And so we powered that with top grading. And we, again, learned all that methodology and we put it into the rhythm we already had going, and we learned rhythm, quite frankly, from Vern, but we took all these other thought leaders' tools and worked them into one rhythm. Yeah. Hence why at the very top of the house, we have leaders. Well, myself and my executive team would sandwich this, and it doesn't really matter what we did in the house, as long as we had these fundamental pieces in place. And in the house, and I'll go to the very top of the house in a minute, but in the house, we have a never-ending cycle of looking at our strategy. So we have our BHAG. We're looking 3 years out. 3 years out, we have to know how to get there. We have to frame it. We have to know what our differentiating actions are. We have to be able to say our strategy in a phrase. We have to know what our secret sauce is. And we need to know what matters to our customer, what we're going to be known for, and why they're going to buy from us. So we never stopped looking at that. A lot of people create their strategy, put it on the shelf, look at it next year. We looked at it every week, every month, every 90 days, basically, and built a plan. And then on the execution side, and this is a piece, as I said earlier, Vern said something about a huddle. Well, as you learn this is the leader setting the rhythm. You decide how often you want to communicate with your team. And in this particular effect that we found is we met every day. A lot of traditional companies said, that's outrageous. I cannot meet every day. There's no way. And the more we met, the less time we spent trying to find one another, communicate with one another, and quite frankly, putting this in place where we huddled every day, had a weekly, had a monthly, had a quarterly, had an annual meeting. I mean, it is that simple. As long as you're focused on where you're going, the one-page plan that Vern put together, it's just, that's the core tool. So we stayed focused on it and we were able to keep this rhythm running. And though as a leader, if you waver on that rhythm, the whole team is on the end, it's the ripple effect. Then they start to lose, they'll lose confidence in that rhythm. So as a leader, you got to be disciplined. If you set it out and you run the rhythm for 30 days. You check, is this working? That's what we were doing. Every 30 days, I check with our team. How's this work? Do you like this agenda? Should we change the time? Should we make it longer, shorter? And we were actually, planning the effect of this metronome. Right? How fast do we beat? But we're all beating together. And then the team's at the very top of the house. The team is, everything is going on we need their feedback. It's this constant, I show it as round and round we go. But without the team, then nothing matters. So we had to ensure the team would say the exact same thing as I would. And by ensuring that the leadership team was this focused within a rhythm and communicating, we then had the leaders implement the same thing with the team. And through that, I think of the two acquisitions of my organizations where the acquirer is doing the typical, I'm going to have 3 due diligence rooms going at once. And so I can't be in all the rooms. It didn't matter to me because I knew the team would say the exact same thing I would say. That's the confidence I had in it.
Yeah, Shannon, I got to tell you, I've worked with an awful lot of entrepreneurs, and you have as clear a system of someone who was using it during the process. A lot of times they have good systems after. They forgot all the mess they were in during the business side. And I want to encourage everyone, this is a powerful methodology. And, whatever methodology you use as an entrepreneur, you've got to have, I've always thought of it, Shannon, as a framework, and I've been big on creating framework to make things happen.
Yes.
I actually like the metronome better because it's one thing to have the framework, but then capturing the rhythm, I think, is a big part. And I never heard that before, meeting you. And that's such an important thing.
And, I think that's the biggest thing why I wanted to actually write the book, is a lot of us, and we all do it. We all go to different conferences. We all learn from some of the best people out there. But we come back and what we learned, whatever their methodology was or the framework to solve one of our issues, and Vern coins it really well, right? People, cash, execution, strategy. Everyone's making those decisions. And there's so many different frameworks that actually play in all those areas. But we wanted to actually go, okay, we love top grading. If that's the methodology you like, how do we make it work within our rhythm? And quite frankly, how do we tie it back to ensure that, top grading, it's all about getting a scorecard, getting A players, but having a scorecard when they join. We wanted to take that scorecard and turn it into an individual's one-page plan, and tie it back to Vern's work. And we just thought every time we learned a new, and I can go on and on and on about all the different authors that have contributed, but we can pull out, a tool and put it into our strategic, rhythm. Kyan Kripanoff, Outthinker. I learned that 2 years ago. I had already exited my second business, but I use that regularly within this rhythm when I work with other CEOs today.
Yeah,
because it's one of those tools.
I think it's so crazy. This is one of the reasons why I started AESNation.com as a creative virtual mastermind of talented individuals like yourself, Shannon. That business is too hard to try to do it on your own.
Yeah,
and it's too hard when you're all in the weeds, as you were saying too. That reaching outside, people that have walked the path before successfully and sharing, and boy, talk about inexpensive ways, buying on Kindle a book for $10, $15, or whatever. This is such a great investment of time and energy, and it really makes a difference. Let me go. I want to change a little bit. I want to go to the next segment, which is what we call the book of the day. And I don't think anybody's going to be surprised, Shannon. I'd like you to talk about really how you've organized the book so that the entrepreneurs can do it. And let me put up on the screen too. I'm going to put up the book itself on Amazon, but tell us a little bit, how they can use it effectively. And then I was thinking also you have a resource website too that would some downloads and tools that are available that we can make sure everybody has.
So I organized the book, that lines up actually with the house. So, starting out with leadership and being self-awareness, and it sort of lines up with the journey that we found ourselves on. So, working through it, we start with the leader, then we're working, through knowing where we want to go. So from the strategic piece, there's a good few sections on looking externally into the environment. There's a tool that, we coined the map, and it's really just a tool that we came up with. I think we were all engineers of the time, and we had to draw our marketplace. But I do this with all my companies and that I work with today, and people go, "Oh, so simple. We draw the outside." And then we also took one of Vern's tools, which is the cash conversion cycle tool. And a lot of people think the finance team should own that, but we drew it as a process map internally because we're looking for things. We needed to get to know ourselves, then we needed to get to know our marketplace, then we had needed to get to know our business, and then we needed to lay out our strategy. So that's the next section of the book, is laying out our 3-year strategy and really working through that and being succinct, taking something very complex and making it clear and simple. And then from there, within it, we definitely, in the book, we're going left to right of Vern's one-page strategic plan. And the next section is getting really clear on execution. So not only what you're going to do, who is going to do it, and ensuring there's some really strong metrics to know that if we write these down and we keep, looking at them day in and day out, it will happen. And we go to 90 days, we go to individually 90 days, and we go all the way down to 30 days. And a lot of people think that, stepping through that is just a huge task. But we wrote the book in a way that you can read it front to back and then go back in and pick where you believe, in your organization, you might have the biggest challenge of the day. And then we end each chapter with key actions as well as resources. Because as an entrepreneur and as a team, we used tons of thought leaders, and we just thought, why not put it down into one place and then have entrepreneurs be able to check in and check out along the way as they're building their company. We definitely did that as well.
One of the things I really like is you gave attribution to everyone. You put the organization together, in the book, and it's easy to use. And how did Vern feel about it? What was the response when he saw what you're doing?
Well, Vern's response was actually great. I can remember the day he texted me and he goes, "Okay, I'm getting on a plane. I'm going to read your book." And I think he was probably the second person to read the book. And for that morning, or until I heard back from him, it was probably about 8 hours later I heard back from him, and it was I was just so happy that he loved it. Loved it enough to write the foreword in the book.
Yes.
And I was really, really pleased because he was either going to love it or not love it, and I wasn't even sure.
Isn't the kind of guy to tell you that he doesn't love too.
Well, exactly. I was prepared for that transparency. And, quite frankly, I don't even know if he knew what we had really done. He was the trigger that drove it all. And not only we did this in 2 of my own companies that I co-founded with my team, but we also did it within the companies who acquired my companies, adopted this framework. So I got to do it 4 times. 2 I led it as a CEO, and 2 I led it as an executive vice president on the team. So I didn't know he knew the whole story, and it was sort of fun for him to read it. And I knew, quite frankly, I was going to know what he thought about it when he got off the plane. But I was really pleased that he liked it, and I love what he wrote about it.
It's great, and one of the things I think now that you're a coach too, one of the favorite parts for Vern, for myself, for you, I'm sure, is seeing someone execute and get the results they want or beyond. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than to see that happen.
Yeah, and John, it's been super fun because when I exited, when I got released, I had a 2.5-year contract with the second acquisition. And I got released, and I committed that I would certify as a Gazelle's coach, in Vern's coaching organization. And I did that about 2 years even before, I think, after I sold the company. And I had to, I had to do the whole oral exams, and, you do a written exam, you have to do a whole lot of work, to get certified there. And my biggest challenge in that was not understanding the tools, because I certainly did, but there's a lot of great stories out there of all these tools in play, and I had to learn those signature stories. I couldn't use my own stories in it. So that was always one of the tougher things. I was really glad I learned those stories, but that was my studying. It wasn't like how they all worked or why did we do these things. So I really appreciated that opportunity and being part of that community.
No, definitely, and I know they did as well. Let's go to the next segment. And this is the application of the day. Shannon, what's one of the applications you use that you'd like to share with your fellow entrepreneurs?
Well, my favorite app as an entrepreneur, and I think just as living life these days, is Cam Scanner Pro. Cam Scanner Pro turns your phone into a scanner anywhere, and it turns it into a PDF. And quite frankly, being on the road and all over the place as we all are, there's nothing better because we don't use fax machines anymore, thank goodness. But Cam Scanner allows me to ski more.
Yeah, no, we were joking, and we can use it. I'm going to download it right away, but I won't use it in the chairlift type
All
thing.
right, all right. You can though.
No, you can't. I'd be afraid that I'd get the arm and it would kind of show, and it doesn't look quite as professional here.
A little snowy.
Yes, no. But let's go to, now that you are no longer, working with your team, building these businesses that you have, but you're actually helping other entrepreneurs. I want to go to this last section, which is resources. And Shannon, what's available on your website? Let me pull that up here. And what's available, and what are you doing now? And if somebody wants to reach out to you, how do they do that?
So I'll start with what I do now. So I spend my time focusing on coaching CEOs and their executive teams, and they're all wanting to grow, and they're 5 million and up, and they're all wanting to triple. In 3 years, they want to triple the size of their company. They want to use this framework. They bring me in to help themselves, the CEO, grow, but also the team. So that's one thing. Second thing is I also work and teach a growth strategy program, 5 modules throughout the year based on the Metronome effect and all the different thought leaders within that. That's been a huge amount of fun. And then the third thing is I love going to different places speaking. So I've been having a ball sharing this with a lot of different audiences all over the world. This year, just in 3 months, I've been literally all over the world. So that's been a whole lot of fun. From a resource perspective, shannonsusko.com has basically, we've laid out every chapter. There's tools, there's different things to download, whether it's the host diagram, but we tried to make it as useful as possible because as entrepreneurs, we don't want to spend a lot of time recreating these things. We want to take the tool and use it, and I wanted to make it as practical as possible. No. I have to say one other site that has a lot of good tools on it, and you know it, but the scalingup.com site has a lot of good tools. That's where you'll find the one-page plan and some other tools that we use, but I make good reference in my site to that site.
This has been great, Shannon, and I really appreciate it. Let me go my key takeaways from this here. I mean, there's so many. I really do have a full page of notes and so on. And, the part that really jumps out at me, I think, one, the leadership and, how you use leadership and the metronome is that the leader is not only, responsible for leading, but it's setting that rhythm. Right. And that's been so powerful. The second, I'm going to call it framework, because you've already done the house, but taking what I was so encouraged, and and I've done it, but not as well as you. I'm going to become a little bit more organized on this, but taking all of these great fellow entrepreneurs and gurus and bringing together, when you had an area that you needed to build out to have that complete house, that framework to really grow your businesses, the way you have. It's amazing. So, leadership, framework. And then the third is, I'll tell you, what I love most is executing for results, and you were doing it. So, it's inspiring. And I'm going to encourage everybody out there, go to Shannon's website. All the notes will be at aesnation.com, our transcription, the show notes, all the links to everything we talked about. And, if you want to get results even close to what Shannon has, certainly read her book. Take the transcript, mark off the things, execute. And if you really want to reach out and contact Shannon as a coach, because she's phenomenal. Shannon, thanks again. For all of you out there, your clients, your future strategic partners, they're counting on you. Don't let them down. Go out and execute and make a difference. Wish you the best of success.
Thank you.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. AESnation.com.